We've all been through like tough times. We've all had weird life experiences. I know I've traveled and come across very strange new people, tough things to face. Is there anything in particular that has made you who you are, that you have challenged, that you have had to fight against?
I think that there are, as you said, there are moments in life when you have an opportunity to give up because the pressures are too great and people are telling you you can't do it, and you even begin to think that you can't do it, but there's something inside of you that tells you to keep going. And I think one of those moments was those moments that I shared at Bob One when I was living in an unhealthy and unhappy home setting with my father in Huntington Park, and I really could have just given up, but when I was in youth and government, it was something to get away from everything else. So it was kind of like a glimmer of hope, or a star in the sky, or some other analogy like that, which is bright and colorful and cheery. But it was like that, and it are those moments that you have a chance to see who you are inside and what kind of person you are and what kind of person you will be, depending on whether or not you do give up or if you persevere and you push on despite it being hard. I remember going to Bob One when I was a sophomore, and you spend like 6 hours on a bus and you're tired and you go to session, and we were sitting down and we were listening to speakers running for office, and I was just like, wow, that's so cool. And since I was the only forum kid in my delegation, I was kind of forced to meet new people, so I sat down with Matt Murphy, Steve Capizzi, and Mike DiCarlo, who've all become good friends of mine through the program, and we just sort of started talking, and a friendship developed, and I've actually gone up to stay with them for a little while. And so it's those kind of connections that you make through youth and government.
Definitely. Have you ever come across situations where you are challenged by your financial situation or your ethnicity? It scares you like out of the program or out of life in general?
Well, I think that there are always those times. I've been a scholarship recipient in youth and government for all 3 years, and I know that it helps because it offsets any cost. And in life, I think that because of the community I come from, which is primarily a minority community, it's very different to come to youth and government, which is primarily Anglo, primarily Caucasian, but it's great to know that there are people out there who are willing to accept me and are willing to elect me as youth governor. But I think that there are issues here that are greater than just race and greater than just skin color. Yes, diversity is important, but unity is even more important. We need to make sure that not only are we diverse, but we are unified, that we stand together to push for whatever it is we need to solve the problems facing our state, to solve the problems facing our nation, and to solve the problems that are facing us as a species.
That your like approach to speaking changed actually at the first joint session. You brought up Iraq and the situation there and the democratic government that was being put in. And you'd never spoken on an international topic before, and I thought it was very interesting to bring it in. However, there were some delegates who were surprised. It was like it was a different approach. There were some delegates who were against the war, some delegates who are against putting in a democratic government. What would you say to those who don't believe that a democratic system should be put into Iraq?
I think that regardless of politics, the fact that the Iraqis were able to participate in democratic elections is something great. But when we put all politics aside, the point of my speech was to approach indirectly the fact that our government isn't all that we want it to be. And we need to work to build an honest government, to build a government with integrity. And the way you do that is by putting people in there who aren't going to get corrupted by special interests, by their own greed, by their own passion for power, or their own need for attention. And that's why we need to elect leaders who are going to be there working for this reform, and not just because they say one thing or say another or promise one thing. And that was the point, was that we need to have governments that are stronger, that are working for the people.
I think what's surprising about all of us is we see such openness in everyone's opinion. We want to, like, as youth, include everybody, create an open arena for everyone to have equal rights, everyone to have equal liberties. And it's really nice to see that in the future our government can improve, and that we have such open minds, and it's just going to keep moving forward. I think it's wonderful. And in talking about the future, to end our discussion, what do you want to do?
That's an interesting question, because I'm really not sure. I'm planning on obviously going to college somewhere back east, but as for what I want to do, I'm all over the place. Sometimes I want to study one thing, other times it's something totally different. I just want to be happy when I'm older. I want to be able to say to a group that I did with what I did in my life, and I'm proud of it, and I'm not going to be ashamed of it, and I want to live my life with integrity.
Well, it was wonderful speaking to you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much for joining me. I am India Lawrence, and I hope that you all had a better idea who our governor was, and I hope you all vote and pick a wonderful governor for next year.